Oh, hello, Internet. Didn't see you there. Welcome to the inaugural, the potentially annual Sliced and Diced podcasts with your host, Matt.
And myself, David. I'm here.
We are board game enthusiasts, and as you can see from the title of this first episode, this is the roast of the beloved Eric Lang.
Yes, the roast of Eric Lang, but also celebration of Adrian Smith.
I mean, nothing needs to be said. The art's incredible. He carries all three games, dives you deep into those worlds.
He's a beautiful human.
I don't know what he looks like, so cannot confirm that. But I think that's all we have to say about. Like, there's nothing bad to say about Adrian Lang. So it's like
Adrian Lang, Eric Lang, bro. But yeah, I'm just like totally throwing you here. Adrian Smith is the artist for this trilogy, and he's just a phenomenal artist. And
yeah, it's because of him that I have spent a lot of money.
Yeah, he really opens up those purse strings and gets in there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll just get right into it, and I'm going to rank mine, and we'll see how you react to that. I think the obvious best here is Bloodrage. My Viking boys, take me to Valhalla. We're going to die in Ragnarok. Bloodrage is my favorite. I like all three. They're right. But Bloodrage is like, I am that person that's going to knock down your door, being like, hey, have you heard of this crack called Bloodrage? Let's play it. Yeah, that's great. Rising Sun, I enjoy. It's a second place.
Close second?
I don't know about close, but I would never deny if someone offered, hey, we're going to play Rising Sun. Do you want to play? I would never be like, nah, I'm not in the mood for it. I do like Rising Sun. It scratches a different itch, and it is still very strategic and political, and I would play anytime. Love it. And then distant thirdly, unfortunately, is Ankh, Gods of Egypt.
Trouble.
What about you, Dave?
Yeah, ranking them. By the way, we're doing this so you don't have to watch the rest of this video or listen to it.
We're going to waffle on, but
so you can just watch this and go, oh, they like this game in this order, and we're out of here. Got better things to do. But for me, I take Rising Sun as my number one. Like, for me,
fair.
There's just so many things about a board game that makes it good, and this has a lot of them. Rising Sun, amazing. Artwork amazing, colours amazing, just atmosphere, and then teachability, or whatever you want to call it, is quite good on this one as well. And what this one does is it really gets you into the game quickly with things like the asymmetrical powers of different factions. So things like that really make this game shine. Not going to lie, this is the game that really dragged me back into board gaming before. Yeah, I've come and gone from board gaming. This one's the one that brought me back in.
Pulled you back in.
Pulled me back in. And yeah, when they got thrown down on the table, and the map is oversized. It's a table hog. But yeah, just wonderful experience. And then, I can see Bloodrage. I can see why Bloodrage is important. I didn't used to, but then I played a bunch of games and I realised it has this amazing draw, which we'll go into deeper with these sort of breakdowns. But just to boil it down, it's just I love the gambling mechanism in this game, but we'll go into more detail later. And then played Ankh and completely underwhelmed. Eric Lang, what are you doing, mate? Shocking.
Well, it's a roast with love, you know. You captivated our hearts with the first two, and now we spent a lot of money on this last one, and we don't know what.
It's a lot of money. This is like even the retail for this one is mad. Interesting. Good to hear your top three. I think I could have guessed that, knowing you. Moving on, you want to deep dive into? Sure.
Things. We'll bring out the first one.
The first one we're going to deep dive on is this bad boy here. Bloodrage. Pretty cool game.
Yeah? You're not going to sell it more than that?
Oh, well, I think you're going to take the lead on this one, Matt.
All right, okay.
It's all you.
Fair point. It is my favourite of the three. Bloodrage, the reason why it's my favourite, I mean, without going into an hour-long rant, I think I should just, point out 3 things, or my top 3 things in it, and that is the draft. Even just that draft, it's awesome. It's so easy to teach to new people. You get that hit like a drug when you get those right cards that you want. You get that hate drafting feel of, oh yeah, I denied that person, with when you have to hate draft other cards to deny people.
Yeah, meta develops.
Yeah, it's a mini game within the overall game. And leading on from that, second thing that I like so much is the versatility. I've personally won with doing every main strategy in this game, whether it's the Loki die to win strat, Loki kill your ships strat, win as many battles as possible strat, camp Yggdrasil and only focus on that battle strat, upgrade your leaders, get the giant leader, and get double rewards from everything strat. You can win in multiple ways. And the best thing about it is you can change you can change those strategies mid-game. You might start off draining people's rage and dying to win with a Loki strat, but then you get certain cards in that second round. You're like, actually I'm going to pivot here, and boom, bing bang boom, you've got a new strat. The versatility is great. You never feel like you're completely out of the game, because there's just also such a massive point swing in that third age. Potentially 100 or more than 100 point swing in that last age. That is just it looks like I'm losing here, but if I calculate it up like this, I'm actually really in the runnings. Yeah.
I've seen games where, the new player, no one's stuffing him, no one's blocking that new player, and then suddenly at the end, that player's been doing the quest strategy, and they have that thrown card that just multiplies your quests, and suddenly they rip their head miles above past everyone else, and maybe they get a few triple upgrades from Yggdrasil, and gets them over the line for those 10 and 20 points on top of their quest, and then they just
100%
swing into the win.
And then lastly is just I guess the accessibility and the ease to teach it. Out of the 3, I think it's the easiest. I mean, it kind of has that play sheet right in front of you with the draft, your actions, your quest, Ragnarok, release your dudes from Valhalla straight into the next draft. It's I could teach my mom. She might not be too hyped about these are creatures and and playing a pretty brutal game, but it's so easy to get your guys back on the board as well. It's not like they're off and it's super punishing. You're always going to be able to keep getting dudes back in. The next stage, your strategy might be completely different, and you might not care about dudes on the map so much. It's very not as punishing, easy to teach, and for me that makes it more accessible. Plus just the crack of the gambling, pulling that slot lever, ding ding ding. I mean, you're going to have a great time whether you win or lose.
Yeah,
it just feels a little bit better when you win.
I think this one has the most value out of controlling the number of pieces you have on the board. You get rewarded the most for staying on top of that, but it also allows you to jump back onto the board fairly quickly, which is refreshing compared to the other 2 games in this trilogy. Getting back onto the board is a little bit more of a struggle.
Yes. Did you mean it rewards you for keeping dudes on the board the most? Yeah. I completely disagree.
Really?
I completely disagree.
Okay. Why is that?
Both Ankh and Rising Sun, it's way better to keep dudes on the board. And it's way harder to get dudes back on the board. But, continuing on.
Okay.
Well, you got negatives? Are you going to tear me apart? Or are you just going to agree with me that Bloodrage is the best?
No, I find that if you're doing the Yggdrasil strat, if you have dudes on the board, you can really consolidate that over the following ages. Whereas in the other 2 games, if you've got dudes on the map, mostly Rising Sun, you don't have a big payoff for.
You don't have an instant.
Control.
Hey, everyone else is off the board, and I'm already here on Yggdrasil. Let's pillage.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah,
that's kind of the direction I'm going with that.
Yeah, but with with experienced players, like that's kind of harder to.
And different player counts makes things either tighter or more free. Even though there's they do limit the board depending on numbers.
I love the way that they limit the board as well. It's just chef's kiss.
All right, I'm going to jump in and give you some. Unless you wanted to go into
some questions about it or what?
No, I'm going to give you my take on this game.
Oh yeah, no go.
Unless you,
I think
I'm done. Or you're out?
I think the people are sick of hearing me preach.
All right, I really of the three, I really dislike the graphic design of this. The artwork's fine, but the graphic design for me, the board doesn't read well. The use of black across the design is kind of a little bit too heavy-handed. And some of the monsters look slightly more cartoonish than I would like them to look. I'm not like super drawn in by the world. I find that the storytelling of the game is very abstract compared to maybe some of the others. I connect to identify with the pieces so much as I do with the others, I find.
I would agree that even though the minis are very cool, I mean, it is cool mini or not, out of the trilogy, it does have the weakest minis, the least cool minis. But that, I think, is because it's just the oldest and the first, and probably more effort and more money went into the sequels. So, I'm not going to knock it too much. The newcomers
on the scene, these guys are getting tired.
Yeah.
I really find the pack down on this is quite horrendous. Because of the drafting, you have to do a lot of sorting at the end, and then also packing away different minis into. This is a common problem with these games, but for this one is probably one of the worst for me for pack down. And then also I was going to mention just a little side here. The app for this I find has quite a few problems.
Well, it's just Eric Lang had nothing to do with the app, all right? But this is the board game.
I'm just going in. Some people might only experience this through the app, and I'm saying that visibility and then the ability to accidentally activate something and not be able to pull it back.
Oh, just when you click on the thing, it's like instantly pillage. It's not. It doesn't give you the option to like, do you want to pillage this? It's just
exactly.
Oh, I clicked it. Oh my gosh.
The yes or no option there will be good, but
that's a huge oversight.
And I quite often would just back out of the game if I'm like, I built up the whole strategy and then at one click I've thrown my whole strategy away, and you're like, I didn't mean to click there. So I was going to mention that. Positives for me is the gambling. This has the thing that I find in a couple of other games that I find very good. Terraforming Mars, San Juan. You sort of gamble that you're going to get your strat. You don't know because you're playing cards and then drafting and seeing if that's going to work out for you. And once you've played a few times, this becomes even more rewarding because once you've figured out the majority of the strategies, you know what to look for, and this gives you that gambling vibe even more so. And I'm saying this in a positive way. This is a good use of this mechanism. The monsters in this are just perfectly done. The powers I'm saying of the monsters in this for me is perfectly done. For example, this one here, Fenrir, is like such an amazing unit for controlling VP generation and with Ragnarok, because wherever that monster is where Ragnarok is, rather than the place that has been randomly generated. Yeah, so that randomly generated what region is going to be at the start of each age. It's randomly generated, and this wolf changes that, so you can really force someone that's playing the Loki strat to have to follow you around and try and predict what you're going to do. So I find a lot of the monsters in this are really just so pivotal, and you plan around them quite a bit, even if it's not you're not doing a monster strategy.
I feel out of the trilogy, the minis in this game have the monsters have the most impact, and that that's another positive for me. It's that's why it feels so good to play them instead of like having this massive creature on the board, and it's like it doesn't really do much.
Yeah,
but it's a dragon.
Yeah, it's a dragon that's worth 7 points or whatever. It's worth 7 strength points or army size or whatever. But It's not like these. These just have such unique and well thought out abilities that mesh with everything else that's happening in the game.
In saying that, what do you think about the Gods expansion?
A little lackluster.
Yeah.
It's like it feels tacked on. They don't feel as integrated. They're just kind of like enhancing things that are going on.
Would you prefer to play with it or without it?
I would I've played it once or twice with, and I've found that it's kind of just in the side. It's almost a frustration that's happening when I'm playing.
Fair.
Because everything else is so meaty and enough that this is just a little extra that doesn't really...
I do feel like I like it, and it's not too much of a like change to the game that is potentially game breaking or going to completely nullify some strategies. And it's cool. I like having like one area where things have changed because this god's here and now dudes don't die here or whatever. It's not a negative. It doesn't take away from the game, but it's like
it's more packed down. More setup, more explaining.
Not too much. It's a card. Yeah. I feel like it doesn't take away from the game, but at the same time, it's not like it's a good expansion in the fact that you don't need. It's an expansion to the game. You don't need it. It's not like you have to have this to make the game full. Whereas I feel like a lot of games with Kickstarter exclusives, it's like, hey, you need this expansion to actually make this game like good and work. Whereas I feel like you don't need this at all. But it doesn't take anything away from the game and enhances the experience for me personally. Yeah.
Cool. Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I get it. These god powers feel similar to something that goes on in Ankh with the sort of weakness of these powers. Reminds me of the powers of the Ankh gods.
Yeah.
They're not that pivotal. They're just like a little aside thing.
A little flavour, just Salt Bay. Two
quick positives to finish up for Bloodrage. The shrinking map is just incredible. It's an incredible concept for a game. You're trying to play out your strategies, but it's in the shrinking map. It's like a knife fight that's just closing in closer and closer, and you just in each other's faces. There's no escaping it. And then Yggdrasil is not something that I see in many games where you have this one king territory where if you're in there, it's high risk, high reward. Everyone gets involved. It moves the board. It shifts the landscape.
It should be.
I just find the more I've played this game, the more I lean towards a Yggdrasil strategy, just because it's going to create fireworks, whereas the others are kind of safe and get a little bit predictable, boring. But that one's always like everyone's involved. It's going to be a big show. Couple of cards that all the battle cards are so pivotal in that region. Yeah. So those are my positives. Pretty good, but hey, probably could be improved.
How would you improve this?
The setup of the draft for every age, with you passing the cards around, is for me clunky. That could be revised. I've had so many games where people have messed up their piles and stuff when they're handing it to the next person. It gets backed up. Someone's handing too many to the next person. They get those piles confused. Things like that. Yeah. For me, that is something that could be streamlined and as a time waste in this game, which is could be a little bit more elegant, I think.
That's some very niche nitpicking, but fair enough.
That's what we're all about. Cool. We're done with Blood.
Yeah. I think you're on a roll, and this is your boy. So why don't you introduce us?
Boom. This guy here, Bloodrage.
Bloodrage, yeah.
Oh, Rising Sun. How do you like that? Getting slightly off the mark there. This game is set in Japan. It's very sort of gruesome in its sort of depiction of what these monsters do.
Very cool minis.
But the minis in this are awesome. The sensibility is far more matured when compared to Bloodrage. I find these are less cartoony. And when I first played this game, I was a little bit iffy about who I could introduce this to because of the gore in some of the minis, which is, partly one of the reasons why I never considered getting this painted up.
Lazy.
But for this one here, for me, has a very wide appeal. I found I can teach this game very easily, and people pick it up by the end of the first... Like, Bloodrage is split up into 3 ages, but I find that with this one, everyone's totally clicked by that first age. So the second age, they're gunning for it. Whereas I've found people lose their way in Bloodrage, like going through the second age, and then, I think, there's a quick learner.
Fair.
I love the colours in this game. I love the politics in this game because of the optics really matter in this. If you appear non-threatening and don't have too many points, people will leave you alone. They'll try and hold back someone else. So optics is big, so that makes it quite the political game. The honour system for breaking ties is just incredible, and he's integrated that so well into how the whole game runs. It sort of pivots on that.
Yeah.
I love the battle system. Like bidding, you feel more like a commander and less like a captain. You're literally sitting at the back going, how am I going to spend my wealth to make this army work? Who am I going to hire? Who am I going to train? It has more of that feeling.
Do I need to hold hostage one of the big monsters?
Yeah. It's like, you're there, it's a battle, but you're very much in the back lines.
Yeah. Am I strategically placing one dude over here to sacrifice him so that I go to the top of the honor rank for the next battle where I need to be able to win the tie?
Yeah.
It's very nice. It scratches a very different strategic itch to Bloodrage, and that's why I rate it very highly as well.
That's a good way to put it. And because you spend the first half of the game, age, just doing political mandates, setting up the battles that are going to follow, it's like you're laying down a groundwork for this battle that you know is coming in the future, so you feel very much like a like a commander or a politician. So I really dig that. Love the artwork. As I mentioned at the start, this has everyone has asymmetrical powers, but they're fairly light, but each power kind of introduces an aspect of the game. So when you're teaching the game and people are asking you about these things, it's kind of like they're getting a very soft teach on the game with these asymmetrical powers that are...
you don't. It's not like a root or something where you need to spend 30 minutes for each player. Okay, this is how you do this and this and this, and then you work completely differently, like this. The
concept is the same, but the order is different, and you need to be aware of that. I'm talking about root here. So that's a big thing for me. And this monster here, what's his name? It's Kamanu. He's also a Shinto and a monster. The aspect of the game, it's basically a game of mini games, and one of them is controlling temples at the top of the board, and this gives you a fairly heavy advantage when doing that. It's just a beautiful basket of well connected mini games, which I think works really well. Negative for me. I won't. Hold on. I got just 2 negatives. Lack of gambling. You can't. That's the thing I figured out about playing a lot of Bloodrage versus this is like Bloodrage, the reset is so unpredictable with the draft, whereas this does not have that. You're very much a steady kind of awareness of what's going to go down in the game based on all the visible information. Whereas
it's much more predictable.
Yeah. And the rulebook is... What I like and hate about this game is that Eric Lang boiled down some of his key concepts into their purest, beautifulest forms, but I feel like he slightly overboiled it, and if it's just slightly too simple. And one of the things is his rulebook is very simple as well. They've even had to publish like FAQs just for some very basic stuff. A little bit of overcooking maybe on this one, but it's hard to hit that perfect point of messy and over-refined.
I haven't thought of it that way. And I mean, you've always been my FAQ answer thing, so I haven't experienced that myself. So, but yeah, I do. I agree with all your points. It's fun. It's great. It's a beautiful game. Looks good. The pastel colours, I think, as you mentioned, that's a nice change from just bold reds, blues, hard yellows, greens,
like what?
Purples. And for me, it scratches a different itch, and the combat is, well, I mean, I know you said there's no gambling, but I mean, the combat sheet is kind of gambling. You're betting, in a way, betting towards things. I mean, yes, is betting and gambling different?
Yeah.
Yes, I guess, yeah. I really enjoy that. However, I would like, what I think personally I would like more is that for you to know how much money everyone has at the start of the war phase, and then not know from there on, instead of it always being published.
Individual battle you don't know, but just at the start, because everything in this game is known, a known quantity, except what you're actually going to bid on the 4 options. Sorry, on the combat sheet.
Because and it's probably balanced and made so because you just need that public knowledge. But I would like to do like a homebrew game of, hey, this is how many coins I have going into war stage. You will never know like what there's, because if you know how many, you know exactly, like sometimes you just know how the battle's going to turn out. You can't outbid them on this thing. They're just going to win with their Ronin because they can outbid you, and it's just like, I know how this is playing out. It's not like you have no knowledge of it.
Yeah, and so, but in saying that, everyone's greedy, so they will try and underbid you, thinking that you've already given up. And so then the mind game's the double thing.
Yeah, but you can still play those mind games without unknowing, of not knowing. Like,
yeah, that's true. I wouldn't be opposed to trying that out. I think that's a good idea.
I don't know if I have anything else negative off the top of my head. I mean, for me, it doesn't rank as high because of not that I can't play it with as many people, but it's more predictable to me than Bloodrage. You can
I feel that's more about you.
And I mean, these are personal opinions, right?
Yeah, personally, I found this is the easiest to teach. Like, people just get in there.
Really?
And the colours just draw them in, and it's just,
I would think this is much more difficult to master, though.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you obviously you don't get so lucky in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not even lucky.
But a thing that keeps people coming back is the accidental wins, and this doesn't have such an accidental win.
I also don't like the uneven player counts.
Right.
I just feel like it feels bad not being in a tea ceremony, and it's not necessarily the biggest disadvantage. Plenty of times I've been left out of tea ceremonies and done just fine, or even better than people in a pair, but it's not necessarily a fun mechanic if there's 3 people and 2 of them are like, oh yeah, buddy, oh, Matt always wins with these guys, or David always wins, we're never going to team with you, and then you're just like sitting there half the game like, oh, cool, they get quadruple actions to me, sweet.
Yeah.
That just feels bad, and it's designed well that you're not actually falling behind, but it still just feels bad.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Some people just want to be the outsider as well, so it kind of caters to that. I don't know, but yeah, I found.
I mean, it does feel good when you're left out of tea ceremony all game and you win, and you're like, yeah, screw you guys.
This one though, I'm just thinking, has a better range for differing player counts, whereas Bloodrage, if you're playing with 3, it's kind of like, this is not as good as when it's got 4. Like, I wouldn't play Bloodrage with less than 4 people, because 3 is just...
Really?
Because you have to always react in Bloodrage.
Yeah.
So if that guy's doing that, I have to go and stop him doing that, and if I don't stop him, you have to stop him. If we both don't stop him, he's getting away with murder. But if there's 4 people, you're always in each other's face, I find.
Interesting.
Yeah. Whereas this one, playing with 3 still works. But, yeah. This one has recruitment and mobility issues. which
I
if you
feel
don't understand the game, they feel like issues, but it just means you have to pay attention to what you're doing. Everything is slightly
you
more
have
important.
to be. It's much less forgiving in your strategy, and that is harsher for newer players. But I don't think it's so harsh that, like, it's bad. It's great. That's part of the itch that I scratch. I'm okay never going to that side of Japan, never fighting that battle, because it's just not going to be worth it for me in the long run.
Sure.
It's going to take me 3 moves to get over there because I can't just be a dragonfly and spawn there.
But obviously the colour sets are so important that you have this internal struggle where I should be doing this, but maybe
it's very good because it makes you pick your battles. It's like Ragnarok, except there's 3 of them. Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
the political mandate phase has a beautiful cadence with you knowing when your turn is going to come up and how many turns you're going to get this round. So you're planning around that, which is quite a fun.
And how it speeds up, how you get 3 before in the first one, and then it's 2, and then it's 2 again, and it's like you feel like it makes you feel like, oh yeah, I've got enough to build up, and then the game quickly closes out and it's battle time. And you're like, oh, I just didn't get quite enough done, and it's always that case, which keeps that tension. It's very nice.
And because I'm going to have the first pick and maybe the 5th pick or something, it structures what you're going to do if you're aware, if you're playing with some awareness of what your strategy is.
Well, I feel like we've rambled on enough. I mean, this game's it's 5 or 6 years old now. These people know how to play Rising Sun. What are we on about? This has been a celebration of Eric Lang so far. We need to get into the roast, David.
All right, roast. Take it away.
Gods of Egypt. Beautiful box. Beautiful minis. Probably, in my opinion, the best minis of the lot. In looks.
Certainly impressive.
I was hyped, very hyped for Ankh, and I still want to play Ankh and will play it more. I feel like I need a lot more players to fully understand it and full transparency. I don't have the Pharaoh expansion, which apparently adds a lot and changes things that I personally have issues with.
A lot of what I hate about this game almost
is fixed by it, is it?
Is addressed with the Pharaoh expansion. Not that I haven't played with it, so I don't know if it actually fixes it, but I know that he attempted to address it with that.
Hate is a strong word, David.
Right. This is like...
Just because you haven't won.
I'll leave you keep talking, I'll tell you why I hate it later.
Ankh. Well, I mean, let's start off with the positives. What I like about Ankh, it's different. There's not too much I actually like. I think both Bloodrage and Rising Sun are so much more fun for me, so much more less punishing for the person. There's always a chance to come back. In Ankh, I've never seen it, or maybe I just haven't played it enough. And
we certainly haven't played it enough.
Yeah, if you're the player in front, it seems if you're the player in front and you lose that advantage, I feel like it's because you've misplayed, not because the other person's played great. And that includes even with the rubber banding of Petshuskus or whatever this croc boy is. I felt like if I in the first or second battle clear out people, have the most dudes on the map, it is just so punishing for people to only be able to summon one dude in at a time. And then if they get temples, or what is it, temples or obelisks? Pyramids, the third option, that they can then summon two. Or if you're the undead god Osiris, you can summon guys a little more easily, but it's just so punishing to have dudes wiped off multiple areas. The other person has maybe 5-6 armies on the map, and you can only spawn dudes one at a time, back into the game. And it's like, if they're smart, they should never lose that advantage. I just think it's just there's
bad vibes.
There's no, if you're like a alpha gamer or whatever, if you are like not just purposely letting people back into the game and you've played the game a couple times, you know how it goes, and you get an advantage, if you lose that advantage, it's completely you misplaying. Like, there's no way they can get back. Or at least that's what I feel from my experience so far.
Playing with the base game and what's the other one called? Tomb of Wonders?
Tomb of Wonders. Yeah. I also think that the monsters have probably the least impact out of the trilogy.
Well, yeah, they consolidate your lead, but they don't shift the game.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like you can get a certain monster from or a certain Daimo from not Daimo, what are they called?
Rising Sun?
In Rising Sun?
Yeah.
The monsters, what are they called?
Oni,
yeah, you get a certain Oni and it like shifts the balance of power, or you get a good monster and now in Bloodrage and you can wipe off dudes off the map or change where Ragnarok is. It like has an impact that lets you back, like can change the game, whereas here there's a race to get them that, depending on the player count, can just lock people out completely, especially in a 2-player. Like, I feel like 2-player is even the most punishing. I don't like this at 2-player at all. Well,
yeah, and we need to fully explore it, but the first 2 rounds we had was pretty lackluster.
Yeah.
And because maybe it's we don't understand the game a bit, but exactly what you're saying.
I've played it with more than 2 players as well, and it felt the same. It felt a little bit better because multiple people could get monsters, and also like there were 3 people in a battle, so you could change up your strat. There was more options with your strategy, where it was just mano y mano. Like, hey, they're probably going to save their dudes here. Hey, they're probably going to sacrifice their dudes here. Hey, they really want this position.
Yeah, with multiple players, a lot of potentially lackluster games are saved by politics, where there's a natural balancing of having a third or more.
And full transparency, I haven't played this 4 or 5 player yet, and I feel like I need to truly experience it, but I've also read on the internet that for some reason people like 2-player the most. 2-player is the least.
Yeah, that's
least fun for me.
That's why I pushed for 2 players, because I heard so much hype about the 2 players, and so yeah, it's kind of like, let's give that a go, because and for me it was fine, but for you, because I haven't played it multiplayer, you played it with a couple of people and found that
it felt the same, and then
the same,
like there was no comeback, and it was just so punishing, and
even with multiple players.
Yeah, it made battle a lot funner because you're going against 3 people and different strategies. And it also made the map feel like there's more dudes on, like more things on the map, whereas 2 is quite sparse, especially if one dude has just completely steamrolled the other person and they can only get one figure back at a time, and this other dude's got a whole army over everywhere, and it's just like, Anyway, I think. You got any more to add to that?
Oh, for sure. For me, I'm gonna jump into my negatives for this. I'm gonna talk about the great big war elephant in the room, which is a wonderful game called Kemet, which you cannot fail to compare this game to Kemet, because it feels like it owes a lot of its DNA to Kemet. And Kemet for me just does everything so well, apart from maybe the graphic design.
I disagree. This is so different to Kemet.
Really?
It's so different to Kemet, but if I want to play a dudes on the map Egyptian themed game, to me Kemet is infinitely more enjoyable than this. Yeah. Even though this is which is they're completely different types of games.
Well,
for me,
the scoring is identical. You've got a VP track, and whoever's first past the post wins the game. The action selection is slightly more. It's different in this, I think, with a bunch of 5, or is it 4 different actions you can choose? 4, yeah. Whereas with Kemet, it's a little bit different.
How nice is that action track though?
Yeah,
I'd say actually that's one of the positives. I like that tight action track, and
that's
then forcing people
almost
to.
the only thing that I enjoy about the game, and it's as I've said before, it's quite distracting. Like I will just sit there staring at those actions, and I won't look at the board because the board's so boring. Like you feel that because everything's happening with the action track, and it's like a struggle to outplay the other person on that. You're barely focusing on the board and what's going on there because you feel like you actually
Interesting.
The power is there and less on the board for me. And if you can win that battle, then you've won the game. if you because everything on the board is kind of obvious what you should do almost. There's a few little nuances, especially with this was Sobek.
Yeah.
With like controlling multiple regions and things like that, but for me, it's that struggle over who's going to get the reward on the reward track, who's going to push it to the point where the next person's action will benefit from resetting that track and getting the reward. But for me, a lot of DNA from Kemet, in my opinion. But this looks far better than Kemet. Let's just put that up there. This Kemet, even with the reprint of Kemet, I feel like it went backwards rather than forwards when it comes to design and appeal, visual appeal.
This does look 10 times better.
Yeah,
and just the size of the minis is just so epic. Then to have them feel like such little impact is a little disheartening.
Oh yeah, we had a game night where we had this running on one table and Kemet running on the other, and I looked across. I was playing Kemet and I was having a great time. Everyone was like, "Yeah, this is a great game." Everyone's singing its praises, and I look across and Ankh is like quiet, not a lot of talking, but beautiful miniatures. I was like, "Wow, that looks better than our game." But we're all talking, having a great time, and doing things and shopping and trying to, win the Nile. But yeah, anyway, it's interesting. What else? Yeah, combat for me in this completely sucks. I hate the combat in this. It's barely like combat. It's more like your construction phase is blended with your combat phase, which I think dilutes the whole vibe. When I'm going to war, I don't want to be building things and having plagues and whatnot. I guess there's that, but just because like the power of the cards is on the top left corner, right, and most of them are just 0, and you're just like, okay, over 50% of these cards are 0. There's like a +1 and a +3 or something. I'm like, okay, and then they all do things that are not combat related directly, and some of them have 0 combat. They just like get a few VP or something.
It's almost it's almost misleading that they're combat cards. Yes, the majority of them are, but there's utility as well, and part of that is like for your strategy, you're kind of sacrificing your battle here to build a monument to maybe gyp them on points, or the monument adds to your battle because you've got your temple attunement and you're building a temple next to your dudes. So I actually don't mind it too much. I think I would prefer faction unique sets.
Yeah.
Or, again, going back to Kemet, I love the wound system, which would be good for outplaying and much less punishing than, hey, you lost the battle, all of your troops except your god are gone from this area.
It's punishing.
And then, oh, cool, you'll be able to, depending on the player count and the actions you choose, you might be able to summon like 1 or 2 dudes back in before the next battle. It's
there's another parallel there with playing a combat card in battle, but it's a completely different vibe. With Kemet, you also have the Divine Intervention cards, and you're discarding a combat card and revealing the combat card at the same time. So it hides from the other player what their options are because they don't know what they've discarded. And the same as Kemet, once you run out, you pick them back up again, or you can play a card to pick them back up again.
Yeah.
Well, eventually you're going to have to play that card to pick them back up again. But like you said, you would like to play where those are not revealed after they've been played, like they're not constant public knowledge. You have to remember that that's been played.
Yeah. That's a personal thing.
Which is potentially. We also talked about potential of juicing it up by having more monsters available rather than a single monster per.
I like the homebrew idea of having 3 different monsters available.
Shout out to Tom Bassel.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, it's Tom Bassel.
Oh, smart man. That's the reason he's on South Park, you know? Another reason why Bloodrage and Rising Sun are better than Ankh is they both featured on South Park.
Oh, there you go.
Granted, that episode did come out before Ankh was a thing, but I'll put it in the column. Having 3 monsters so that everyone can still get a monster if they unlock that Ankh power. You're not punished in the fact that, oh, okay, cool, 2 people got a monster, I didn't. Or if it's a 2-player game, 1 person got a monster, I didn't. It's just you will get your first choice. So there's only 1 of each, and then the person to unlock it first, they'll get first pick. So
yeah.
I think that I would love to play a few games like with that homebrew.
It's worth giving it a shot.
Yeah.
There's too much plastic on the board, Eric. Hello. We played with the plastic.
It's cool mini or not, you can't.
Yeah, but plastic structures are not exactly minis.
It's definitely more readable with the cardboard.
Legible, yeah. Over the plastic monuments
than the plastic.
The board gets very cluttered, and you're already. That's another negative on the game for me, is that you can have a region get filled up with structures and it becomes inaccessible to anyone if you've got.
That's part of the strategy. I don't have too much of an issue.
It just feels unrealistic for real life. But so there's some concepts in here that you can stretch the imagination to be like, okay, I can see how this concept has an abstract connection to something in real life. As in, instead of building an army, I built a monument with my resources, and that's given me this. But I've lost the battle because I used my resources. I can sort of make that connection, but the sort of crowding of regions with just your soldiers and monuments to block other people kind of is very unrealistic for real life, where people just march in with an army or something, you know. So I don't know. There's that. I don't like the vibe of this game with that you're sacrificing followers to do. It's very flippant how it handles that you're sacrificing people to gain these powers. For me, I just has a bad taste in my mouth. I'd rather, if they were going to do that, sort of lean into and acknowledge that yes, you are killing people off to get this, and sort of theme it, make it a little bit darker around that theme, and maybe have some wording around it so that you're
Aztec mythology game win,
rather than just like flippantly, oh, you just killed 10 followers here to get this and do this, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of dark. I kind of don't vibe that too much.
No, I don't mind at all.
Positives for me are, it's like the gold powers. They're just enough to not really matter, but just
keep things fresh.
But at the same time, give you something to play with, try a different angle. Reminds me of games like Through the Ages, where you have a tiny advantage, but it sort of compounds over time. And if you lean into it and reinforce it with other passives or technologies, it becomes something that's quite scary. But if you don't, it's just like quite kind of harmless and interesting. And all these gold pieces, like, I don't know, it's just lovely to see all this gold leaf in a game.
It's a very pretty game. It's a very pretty game. Just a button there with gods. I would love to, once we play it a few more times, I'd love to, maybe in another video idea, tier rank the gods. Currently, I feel like, mostly they are like not, there's no like too clear overpowered one. However, in the base game and with the Tomb of Wonders expansion, there are 2 gods that like directly cancel each other out with Anubis and Isis.
Right.
Anubis takes people's dead dudes, adds to his power. Isis protects her dudes so they can't die. Like, they can't die no matter what. So, like, if you're playing unfortunate position of a 2-player game, or even in the 3-player game where both those gods were like, it was like cool, like neither of these guys are getting their god powers for it, which
what's nice about that though is if you have an unbalanced player, someone who has a lot of experience and someone who doesn't, you can give them the powerful god and then you play the weaker.
Well, those gods aren't weak in their own sense. In fact, I think they're very strong. It's just like when they're both in the same game,
right?
They like kind of cancel each other out a bit.
I mean, kind of awkward, Eric.
It is a little awkward.
No,
and then
I'm on positives though. Right?
Ra's just trash. No.
Scenarios are really cool. I really like that you build up a board based on a preset, and then you get to choose which gods you throw onto that board. And so each time will be a little bit different.
It's flavorful.
Yeah. That is something that's
adds a lot to replayability.
Yeah. And I would have liked to see something of that sort of story element in Bloodrage somehow. I don't know. This I feel is a one up on the others.
I don't know.
Because they sort of have a theme to them.
Yeah, I feel like Bloodrage works so well because it's such limited spaces, and then Ragnarok's going to be in the random area that you flip.
Oh, I'm just thinking story, imagination, rainbows and stuff. You know?
It's all about the theme, eh?
Yeah, the theme. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that. He's a suave dude, though. I was going to say, I've seen him in a few videos at conventions and stuff, and he's pretty cool, and he has a sort of presence when he's teaching or talking about a game, and once you see him in person, you can kind of, I'll keep that there. Once you see him in person, you can kind of feel that vibe in his games as well. Oh, what's going on?
I don't know.
Enough room for these guys?
They're not going to fit.
He is probably one of the most coolest dudes in board gaming.
Yeah, no, this is a roast out of love because we love his games, and we were just, edgy title. Thought we'd roast Ankh a little bit. Maybe we just need to play it a bit more, but I'm looking forward to whatever he does next. Hopefully,
second-hand market for this though. That's something we haven't talked about.
Oh no, do you want to roll into that?
Well, just saying, the cost of these is nuts, and then picking them up is nuts.
This is true.
And you've spent a lot of money on them.
But so have you.
Not as much as you, I think. And, I need to mention the Pharaoh expansion adds what I find is missing with the catch-up mechanics, potentially. We haven't played it. You were meant to pick it up, but failed to click the right thing.
For some reason, didn't get everything, yeah.
But yeah, they offer a sort of temple situation where you have priests go in there and they give you cards that are like the divine intervention cards from Kemet that you can then play in different situations. A lot of them, you can play them with your combat card to get something else, or when you take an action, you can play them as well, and it gives you just this other advantage. So there's a whole sort of struggle going on in this temple area, which I think would probably remedy some of that catch-up sadness that I've seen when I've played the game.
So I'll have to hunt down a copy.
Apparently it very much changes the game. So if you enjoy the game as is, then maybe it's not something you want to look into. But the box is really cool too. It has a big pharaoh face on it. It's pretty dramatic. So it's like Ankh. It's a bit of a misstep.
I mean,
perfection.
I'm fine to live in the glory days of Bloodrage forever.
Inspired, maybe.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do next. Is this the end of his Dudes on the Map trilogy, or I've heard rumors of Aztec mythology.
Oh.
I don't know if they're substantive, but
any substance to that?
Yeah, it's probably Fry just take my money, see what he does.
Yeah.
See what he does. Is that it?
Yeah, stay tuned for the next episode. We're going to be doing a top 10. Everyone loves a top 10, so we've got a really juicy top 10 for you. This is Sliced and Diced. I'm David.
And I'm Matt, and we'll see you next time. What are we calling them?
I don't know.
Dice.
You were going to do a little...
I wasn't going to do anything.
Oh, you're not going to do your thing?
Here's
a little
get
dance.
out here.
He gets a little dance, but yeah, there we go. All right, we'll catch you next time.
Hit my mic with that elbow.